Some motherfuckers, Pentala Harikrishna maybe is the MVP for the moment of the World Cup. He was playing incredible games and just winning the game so easy. So in today's video, I'm going to show us his victory against Daniel Dardha in the third round of the World Cup. So let's analyze the game. Okay, Harikrishna opened with c4. He's a very aggressive player. c5, knight f3, d6, d4. He goes for an open Sicilian. She takes knight takes knight f6, and here Dardha decides to play knight c6, the classical Sicilian. And the Harikrishna goes for the main move, who is bishop g5, e6, queen d2, a6. And here the normal move was long castle, there are the main move. But here Harikrishna had a specific idea. He takes first on c6, who okay is normal, who later goes long castle, because he takes first on c6 because here with long castle, bishop d7. Here, okay, knight c6 is playable, but now black have the extra option of take on c6. For that reason, he decides to first take on c6 before bishop d7. He takes long castle, bishop e7, and now he decides to give the other bishop, to enter in a position with he having the bishop pair, but he have a better pawn structure and more space in the center. Bishop f6, he takes f6. Now this pawn structure is typical in the classical. Now white idea sometimes was play f4, f5, but in this specific position doesn't work so much. So white in this position he should use that he have uh, more development, and instead of make the plan of f4, f5, he just should try to just to activate fast his pieces. To go with bishop c5, bishop c4, rook e1, king b1, and later after plays well of the pieces, maybe f4, f5 can king one day or something, or some ideas with queen e6. But first, white should play well the pieces, so he played bishop c4, bishop b7, rook h e1, and here Dardha plays queen a5. Queen c7 was the other normal move. Here bishop b3 because okay the bishop looks better on b3. Long castle, and now queen e3 trying to go to a7 or something. King b8 and king b1, and but white is fine here. Maybe yes, like I thought f4 f5 could be a plan in a moment. So, but Dardha play queen e5, who is the other normal move. Now king b1, just placing well the pieces. Let's see that white plays well of his pieces. The only place that needs to be improved was the bishop to b3. And here Dardha made the first mistake of the game. I don't like the gameplay by Dardha here. He played queen c5 with someone who have no so much sense because okay, at the bishop the bishop wants to king to b3. It doesn't matter if you attack the bishop or not, the bishop maybe is going to go to b3. And the queen on c5 used to be fine in this type of position, but the problem specifically here is that now the knight is coming to a4, and now the queen cannot go to a5 again, and he should go back to a7 with a bad square. For that reason, the queen on c5 here was not so good place. And the queen on c5 used to be better when the pawn is on f5, for example. I'm going to put us some sample moves. Okay, but this is more with the bishop on d7. Okay, I'm going to show us more or less this position with the bishop on d7, for example, long castle f5. Here in this specific position, the queen can came to e5. I'm not talking about this exactly position because okay, now the e6 pawn is hanging. I'm talking about ideas. Or with the king on in the center, for example, I don't know what to. For example, h5, f5. Here, queen c5 have more sense because after okay, bishop b3. Now, when for example, I'm going to put rook b8. If white plays here knight a4, the queen can came to e5. That's the principal difference. That when the pawn is on e5, sorry, in the classical, you can play queen c5 because after some knight a5, knight a4, the queen always can be placed on e5 and never be ejected. But in this specific position with the pawn on f2, if the queen came to e5, can be ejected by the f pawn. So that's why in this specific position, queen c5 have no so much sense. I analyze another ways to play by black. For example, long castle was a possibility. And here white should play with knight d5, important move to only move to take advantage. And now entering the thinking of knight d7 and rook d4, rook e3, and okay, white have a small advantage thanks to his better pawn structure. But okay, so the advantage is no so huge, but the position is more pleasant for white. And other black way to play was h5, and now h4. here, for example, in rook f8, queen e3, d5, bishop b3, rook d8, that's the best way to play for black. Or rook d3 DLD was more or less the same. King e3, king f8, knight 92, for example, e5 and bishop b3. That's more or less equal. White is slightly better, but that's the best way to play for black. But instead of that, queen c5 is a mistake because just after bishop b3, now knight a4 is coming, and you should go with the queen to e7. Here, Dardha directly decides to break the center with d5 and try to control the center, but black's position is not enough good to can break. Of course, he make that to open his dark square bishop. By one hand, it's logical, but you have not enough development to try to break that. Was a little bit better to don't castle here, but okay. I can just knight d4 and c4, stopping d5, and later f4, a3 is coming, so white is fine here. The problem of d5 is just queen e4, like I told, and the queen should go to a7, which is a square that you didn't want to have the queen there on e7. Yes, a sad queen on e7. You never want to have the queen on e7 in stable positions. And here, Harikrishna break the position with c4, which is a good move, but he have a better continuation, which he takes d4, he takes d5, he takes d5, f4, followed by f5 and f5. That's the correct way of break the black center. Rook d6 and now knight c3, queen c5, queen h6, very important move, coming to queen g7 and then g4, g5. Now queen or g4 or queen g7 and g4 followed by g5, and that's not easy to show all of this, but that's the correct way of break the black center. Or you can start with f4, but okay, the idea is the same. Very interesting way to play with white this. It takes f4, f5, and later, okay, this could look more or less normal, but who impressed me the most is play queen e6 to queen g7 and then g4, g5. That's really impressive. Attacking the center from every side. But okay, Harikrishna plays e4, who is a natural move and still having the advantage. And here was the last chance to Dardha to steal in the game. He should play d takes, bishop takes, and rook d8. That's the only way for black to maintain the fight. Queen f4, and here trade, and bishop c8. But okay, with rook d3, white is better. But with the move played by Dardha, the black position is just completely lost. Now white just should play here and knight c3, and the huge problem of black position is this king who have no safe square. So after d takes, bishop a4, queen a6, rook takes, rook e3, threatening rook e3, and knight e4. Now this is checkmate. Bishop takes f5, and now the final touch of Harikrishna. Rook takes e6, and here Dardha resigns, because if f takes e6, bishop b3, and bishop b6 in the next move. And it's checkmate. So very good game of Harikrishna, who was playing. Yes, he's maybe the best player of the World Cup until here. Maybe with Alcantara. Alcantara and Harikrishna maybe are the two best players for the moment in the World Cup. So congratulations to Harikrishna to win this game and to beat Dardha in the third round of the World Cup. So let's see how continues the tournament. Bye bye, motherfuckers.